Okay, so before starting, I'm sure many of you have read the flyer already, but does anyone have like a idea of how many wild cats we have? 7. So worldwide, okay, how many big cats do we have worldwide? Is it 5? Is it 10? 15? 5? Who thinks it's like, okay, who thinks it's like between 5 and 7 or, I don't know. Sorry? I didn't hear that, sorry.
He thinks it's between 5 and 7.
Between 5 and 7. Okay, we've got 7 big cats worldwide. How many do we have in Sri Lanka? 1, exactly. Yay. Okay. Okay, so now that the big cats cleared, how many small cats do we have worldwide?
34.
34, exactly. So we've got 34 small cats worldwide, and this also includes the domestic cat. Yeah, so how many do we have in the country? Small cats, not just wild cats. 3? Who thinks it's 3? 4? 4, 1, 2 people for 4. Okay, okay. So whoever said 4 was right. We've got 4 small cats in the country, but yeah, the domestic cat falls into the small cat category. But because everyone already knows about their domestic cats, I'm just going to focus on these 3. Can anybody take a guess on the first guy? Okay, so the first is the Rasi spotted cat, the second jungle, and then the third, exactly. So let's start with the Rusty. So the Rusty spotted cat is it's called the Koladivya locally. And according to the IUCN Red List, which was updated this year, it was upgraded to near threatened, which is good. But again, it's a very data deficient species. And according to the National Red List, which was updated in 2012, it's an endangered species. So the species, you can identify, it looks a lot like a domestic cat for anyone who's not very used to seeing these animals in the wild. They've got very short fur, and there are various color morphs. So for example, the ones that we have in Sri Lanka are like a brownish with little gray or dark streaks, whereas I've seen photographs of rusty spotted cats in Eastern Ghats in India, which are like a bright rust color. So it kind of looks a bit odd if you see photographs of them, but it's not photoshopped or anything. Their fur is also splotched with these very light splottings. Again, the Sri Lankan species, the Sri Lankan variation has darker black spotting. They're also identified by the 2 dark cheek streaks and the 4 forehead streaks that run along the forehead, down the neck, and then they turn into like elongated rectangles, I guess, going down the back. Then the belly and chest. Has anyone seen a rusty in the captive or in the wild? Okay. Have you all ever seen the belly? No? Yes? Okay. So everyone's seen the leopard's belly, right? It's white with black spots. So rusty spotted cat's belly looks very much the same, except the fur is much longer and fluffier. Right. So then they've also got these little, I don't know whether to call them large, but they've got ears which are sort of medium size, because for a fishing cat it's much smaller, so it's larger than fishing cats. And they're not pointed, the tips, like our domestics, they are more rounded. And the tail is quite long. It's about half the body length from the head to the rump. And the interesting thing about these cats is that the soles of their feet are black. So the next is, so this is just like a side view to understand what I talked about, the splotching, and then you can kind of see the belly and then the cheek streaks and the length of the tail. So we aren't really sure whether they are primarily solitary cats, but we assume they are. They do come together during breeding season. Adult rusties, does anybody want to take a guess on how heavy they are? Sorry? A kilo, 25 kilos, oh gosh. 2 kilos, okay. So the rusties, actually an adult will weigh in between 1 and 1.8 kilos. So because of that, they're known as a hummingbird of the cat family because they're so small, and they are also the smallest species of cat in the world. So 1 kilo is like a bag of sugar. So if anybody wants to get that, just go and carry one at Keels, I guess. Okay, so a 6-month-old a 6-month-old domestic cat is about the size of a rusty, an adult rusty. So they're very, very small. As newborn kittens, anyone want to take a stab at how heavy they are, or how light rather? It ranges between 30 and 40 grams. So 30 and 40 grams is, who eats egg here? I know I love egg, so I eat a lot of egg. But anyone else eat egg? Who has egg in the fridge at home? Okay, so go home after this talk, take an egg out of your fridge, and that is how light baby rusty is, newborn. So that's the one right there, 2 actually. They can fit in the palm of my hand. And then those 2 other ones, they've gotten bigger, so they're on the left, right, your right. Okay, so there is not very much information about rusties having littering in the wild. There's only one record according to Mel and Fiona Sundquist, and that record is from Sri Lanka. Yay! Okay, so and that record was at a tea estate where they had found this female with 2 kittens. She had made a small little den in the rock under this tea bush. So that's the only record we have of wild rusty kittens in a den. So we should be happy about that. They are an arboreal species, or at least that's what we see in captivity. They do get onto the ground when they hunt, but they prefer staying high up. Because of their size, they're very vulnerable for predation, so it's easier for them to kind of chill out and hide in the trees rather than be on the ground and easy to catch. And we think they're nocturnal, but there are cases where rusties are seen during the day. So it varies from cat to cat. So their range is very small. As I mentioned, we've got them. Until this year, actually, we thought that they were only in South India, but now you can see that they have found cases of rusties in northern India. And last year, we got our first confirmation in Nepal, so near Bardia National Park. That was where the first rusty spotted cat was photographed in Nepal, which is quite cool. It's very rare to see these cats, so if anyone has ever seen them in the wild, I mean, hats off to you. You all are very, very lucky people. And because it's so rare and the sightings are so infrequent, it's very difficult for us to understand their population size and the population connectivity within their range countries. The habitat they prefer is dry deciduous and moist forests. They are also found in thorny shrub and grasslands. So Wilpattu is a really good place to see them, and so is Udawalawe. And I know we've got a few rusty on camera trap in Yala, but I don't know if anyone has actually seen one over there. So this was actually photographed by, I think his name is at the bottom, but this was photographed in Wilpattu. And then I think this year there was also Noel Rodrigo had managed to film this again in Wilpattu, which I'm very jealous about because this must have been amazing to watch. Sorry. So this again is during the day, so the cats high up in the trees, probably hunting for birds. They tend to, I mean, from the captive rusties I have seen, they tend to come onto the ground in the evenings. This unfortunately is not a sleeping rusty, though it looks a lot like one. This was actually a rusty that was hit by a car last week in close to Kandy. So that's a huge issue for most of our wildlife, especially our wildcats. Is that, I mean, people want to get home really fast, so they speed up and, you know, the animals get knocked over. The other issue faced by the rusty is mistaken identity. So when people do find these rusties, they kill them thinking that they are young leopard. Because rusties do tend to hang about human habitation, so a person who can't identify a rusty from a leopard will end up killing them. Another issue would be people picking these cats up. As kittens, they do look like domestic cat kittens, a bit odd, but you know, again, if somebody can't tell the difference, they'll think it's a kitten, pick it up, take it home, the cat grows up. It's a lot wilder than they thought it would is, and then they ship it off to the wildlife department. Problem with that is the cat's habituated or used to being fed every day. It hasn't learned its hunting skills, so when it is released into the wild, most of them find it a little difficult to feed themselves. Another thing about picking these cats up is people walking through the forest, if they find a kitten, they think that the mother has abandoned them, so they pick them up and they take them to the wildlife department. What actually is happening is that the mom is around, but she's not coming to defend the kitten because obviously we're a lot bigger and she's teeny weeny, so she kind of hangs back. What I do tell people is if you do find a rusty kitten or a fishing cat or a jungle cat kitten, leave it where it is, watch it from a distance for 24 hours. If the mother still hasn't come to take it away or come to feed it, that's when you can go to it, keep it warm, take it to the nearest wildlife department office and hand it over. If not, just leave the animal alone. And never ever pick up any of these wildcats for photo opportunities, because the moment we leave our smell on them, the mums usually don't claim them. Right, so research-wise in the country, Chandika Jayaratna, I don't know if any of you all know him, but he has started a rusty spotted cat project. What he's doing is he's trying to understand the behavior of rusties in agricultural areas and protected areas, and trying to mitigate and understand how they interact with these habitats. Apart from that, there's nothing else. And there was one in India, but not anymore. So there's one project on rusties, which is kind of sad. Okay, so moving on, jungle cat. I'm not gonna pronounce the scientific names because I'm really bad in my Latin. So, I mean, excuse me for that. Right, so jungle cats, they're known as the Wilpattu locally. And IUCN Red List has put them as least concern. And the National Red List has put them in as near threatened. They are much larger and lankier than your domestic cat. They've got a plain, unspotted coat, much like a mountain lion. But the interesting thing is that they've got these two very distinct armbands on their front legs. They also have very light banding on their tails. Again, like the rusty, coat color does vary according to the range countries. The really cool thing about this cat is that they do come in the melanistic form. So there are 11 species of wild cat that come melanistic, and the jungle cat's one of them. The really interesting thing about a jungle cat, and if you do see it in the wild and you finding it a little difficult to differentiate them from the domestic, is look for the ear tufts. They've got like these little hairy ears. It's shorter than a caracal, but it's very distinct. So that's a female. So adults weigh between 4 and 16 kg. So again, it depends on the range country. Our jungle cats are much smaller than the ones you would find in India, for example. The social organization, again, is largely unknown because they are very, very, very poorly studied. But of course, during breeding season, you will see males with females and you will see mothers with kittens, like these photographs here. Kittens usually come in batches of 2 to 3. And an interesting thing, I actually got a phone call from Dr. Upendra Silva yesterday. And he said that he has observed jungle cat females with kittens in Kurunegala. He was watching them and he found that the females, when they build their nests in the paddy, they make these little nests like bird nests, and these nests have 2 to 3 openings with a nest in the very center. So what he told me was, if somebody did approach the nest, approach one entrance, the mother would take the kittens from inside and leave through another entrance to avoid being caught. So I thought that was pretty interesting and I wanted to just mention it. Right, so jungle cat range distribution worldwide is very different to the Rasi spotted cat. And because they have such a vast home range from Egypt all the way to Vietnam, they are often known as the jackal of the cat species because they're very good at adapting to various situations and they're just found everywhere. And because of the range, they are also the most common small cat in the world. They prefer grasslands, swamps, reed beds, thick brush. In certain range countries, they're known as a swamp cat. Yeah. And main threats, as usual, most wildlife, it's habitat loss. Then again, we've got roadkill, and then they do come into conflict with people, which is another issue because people are, I'm sorry to say this, but people are moving into wildlife habitat and they have livestock and they have chickens and all these things, and the cats do. I mean, it's easy to catch a chicken because chickens are kind of silly. I don't know if any of you have like owned chickens, you all will know how stupid they are, sorry, but they are kind of stupid. So when a chicken sees a cat, it's like, oh, hello cat, and the cat's like, hi, and grabs the chicken. And of course, chickens are also prone to dying of shock, so you don't just kill one chicken, you have the whole flock kind of having a heart attack and flopping over. So being the person who owns the chicken, you're not going to be very happy to find your entire flock dead. So it's bad news for the cat most of the time. So as an example, a jungle cat caught on the 25th of Jan this year. It was caught in, I think, a chicken coop in Bibile. The fellow has been snacking on this person's poultry. And then the wildlife department came and caught the guy. This is a jungle cat taken on camera trap at someone's house in Kirinda. I don't know if many of you know her, but Manori. This is her place in Kirinda, and that's the jungle cat that visits her garden quite often. In Sri Lanka, there aren't any studies, but Dr. Mittapala, Sriyani Mittapala, is starting a jungle cat study, hopefully end of this month, so that will be good because our jungle cats are finally getting some love. What she's trying to do is she's trying to understand the distribution of these cats in the country so that we can start some really good conservation plans. So the next cat that we have is my cat. I'm not going to pronounce the scientific name. It's very, very difficult. Okay, so locally known as a Hanundivya. Red list status, upgraded to vulnerable, yay. That's good, but they're not out of the woods. Locally endangered. I didn't take these pictures, unfortunately, but yeah. And these aren't wild cats either, these are all captive cats. It's very difficult to photograph these animals. So, they're very distinct because they've got short, coarse fur. And like the rusty spotted cat, they've got the two cheek streaks and the forehead streaks that go along the back. So if you see a rusty spotted cat kitten and a fishing cat kitten in the wild or anywhere, it's very difficult to tell them apart unless you notice the shape of the skull, which also, unless you see them a lot, it's very, very difficult to differentiate. The fur is usually olivey grey, and the tail is very short. It's like a very short, stumpy tail, and it's got like very faint black rings. They're also spotted. So because they're spotted, lots of people think that they're leopards. So when I started my work here, actually people thought that I was releasing leopards in Colombo because they didn't know that there were fishing cats in Colombo. So that caused a bit of an issue for me. Their ears are very short and round, and you'll notice it more in the next picture. Yeah, tiny little ears with a ginormous head, I know. Okay, so because they are very, very, very stocky and muscular cats, we do affectionately call them the cat on steroids. Because they kind of look like these little bodybuilders when they walk around. And adults weigh between 5 and 16 kilos. So the heaviest fishing cat I have ever caught would be, I think he was about 12 kg. So, and he was quite heavy and fat and nice. Okay, so the really cool thing about these fishing cats is that their front feet, the paws, are partially webbed, and all 4 paws have semi-retractable claws. So everyone knows that cats can retract their claws. Yeah? Yes? So that's why, like, if your cat creeps up on you at home, you don't know, but your dog will come taka 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 taka, and you'll hear him. And so that's because the cats have a muscle just over their toe, which pulls the claws in, and it can retract, and the claws come out. So cats, fishing cats like the cheetah are the only species that have semi-retractable claws. So that's the claw for you. So this is a completely relaxed foot, but the claws are still poking out from under the fur. So we think that they have semi-retractable claws because when they do hunt for fish, sometimes they sit on the bank and they dive in behind after a fish. So when they do dive in, they need something to grip the soil and the mud. So that's where the claws kind of come in handy. And as their name suggests, they are very good at catching fish. They have also been seen swimming behind fish, like fully submerged, going behind fish. But of course, catching fish is very hard work. You expend a lot of energy. So if they do have the choice of catching small birds and rodents, like most of the cats that I work with do, they'd rather do that than, go behind a fish and getting wet and, doing all of that. Okay, so range countries. The red is actually where we assume that there are cats. We think that there are cats, but we have no evidence of fishing cats. It's all hearsay. So we'll interview people in the area and they'll say, yeah, I think we've seen this animal. But again, not really sure. We've never had camera trap evidence. Yellow is confirmed sighting. So we've got Sri Lanka, you've got Bangladesh and Nepal. And you also have the purple, which is along the Nepal-Terai arc range. That also is possible fishing cat habitat. So the habitat is perfect for fishing cat, but we still don't have confirmed sightings. They're highly dependent on water. So if you've got a really good body of water and the habitat's also right, you most probably got the fishing cat. So for example, Colombo is a perfect place for fishing cats. We've got amazing wetlands in our city, and our fishing cats are kind of having a ball over here, and I'll get to that in a bit. So the main threats for these cats is, of course, habitat destruction. This is actually an area shot, I think, in Sri Lanka. So agriculture is a huge problem. In Thailand, it's shrimp farming. Then we've also got roadkill. Sorry, I know, very gruesome, but it had to be shown. This was actually photographed, I can't remember when this was taken, but it was this year. It was sent to me last week. And it was taken near Boralaskamo. And my colleague and I, Ashan Thurukala and I, we have recorded 68 reported roadkill over the past 36 months. Those are only the reported cases. There are lots of cases that people don't tell us about or the newspapers don't catch. So 68 is a lot. Another issue is accidental snaring or intentional snaring. Luckily for us in this country, people haven't started actively hunting and killing these animals out of anger. But in India, it's a huge issue. Over here, if the cats are caught eating chickens, the wildlife department is called, and they take the cat out. And of course, conflict with humans. So this is Ashan, and this is what Ashan's doing. He's doing threat mitigation in the hill country. So he's recording these roadkill. He's trying to understand how these people interact with the cats, and he's finding solutions for that. He's also set up lots of road signs in Kandy, and hopefully in the near future he will implement these in the rest of the country as well. Right, so moving on to my work. So I handle the Urban Fishing Cat Conservation Project. What I do is I am studying the ecology and behavior of fishing cats in Colombo's urban wetlands. So in 2006, there was a study done which confirmed the presence of fishing cats in Colombo. And because of the war, that project had to stop. So once the war finished and I graduated and came home, I started working on fishing cats. And I kind of started I wanted to see what was happening to the cats because there was a lot of post-war city beautification. So I don't know if any of you can remember, but the wetlands were being cleared at a rate. So I wanted to know what these cats were doing. So before I went about my work, I had to ask people, have you seen fishing cats? So lots of people, even if some people can misidentify. So I take like a bunch of photographs and I show them, they have to pick it out, and if they do pick out the fishing cat, then I continue. Another thing that I ask them is if they've heard a fishing cat, which is important. So I'm going to ask you guys, have any of you heard a fishing cat call? Does anybody want to take a guess on what it sounds like? No one wants to guess?
Like a laughing sound.
Like a laughing sound, okay. There's a hand at the back. What? A growl. Okay, they do growl. They do growl when they're annoyed. Do you think it roars like a big cat? No? Yes? No? Okay. So, this is actually a captive cat. Is the sound on? Okay. So, she actually is in the Aspinall Foundation in England. And her name is Oya. So my cat on steroids quacks like a duck. Yeah. So does anyone want me to play it again? Yeah, okay. So that's her. She's a nice cat. Okay, so once people have told me, okay, I have seen fishing cats and I have possibly heard fishing cats, then the next thing I go and do is I go and look for, I know maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I have to. It's like my favorite thing in the world. It's scat. I love scat. Animal scat is amazing. You learn so many things when you look at animal scat. So I look for scat and I look for footprints. This is the best part of my job. Okay. So the scat on this side is from Talawatu Goda, and so is the paw print. Once I've got the scat and the pug mark, again, very difficult to say if it is a fishing cat. In Colombo, you can kind of say, because scat is very different to dog scat, because scat kind of comes out like a nice Keel's chicken sausage. Sorry. Sorry, I like Keel's chicken sausages as well, so yeah. Okay, so it comes out like a nice long sausage, whereas dog scat, comes in, everyone's seen their dog poop, right? I don't need to tell you, it's more like little balls of clay dough stuck together. There are segments in dog scat, whereas cat's nice long, unsegmented chunks. So in Colombo, it's easy for me to say it's a fishing cat because I don't have any larger species of cat in the area. But of course, when you go to Yala and places like that, it's more difficult to say whether it's a fishing cat or if it's a young leopard. And even the pug marks, very difficult. It took me a long time to get used to differentiating fishing cat pugs versus dog, because they're pretty much the same size, especially if it's a nice large dog. But the cat, I don't know, the cat's paw print is more circular, and there's a bigger gap between the plantar and the toe pads. So I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but that's how you, if anyone has dogs and cats at home, paint their paws and check it out. I know I've done that. So now we've got scat and tracks. So usually fishing cats have a latrine. They're very clean animals. They'll poop in the same place. So if I find a nice latrine, I will set up my camera in front of it and hope for the best. Usually I hit jackpot. So this is a really big fishing cat. He's huge. He's so big he has a double chin. It's amazing. You can't see the double chin in here, but we caught him in a trap once and he was just like huge. He shocked us all. This is actually photographed in a home garden in Madivela. So he'd come quite often. He'd check the place out, pose for a bunch of photographs before making his, before going and doing the rest of his rounds. This is a fishing cat at the Birgama BOI. This is actually behind the MAS Linea Intimo boiler room. So yeah, there are fishing cats. Sorry? Okay, okay. So it took us 8 months to get this photograph, but it was so worth it. And then this again is at the Thalawattu Goda wetland. That's my collar around his neck. It doesn't hurt him and it's not heavy. It's like me wearing my watch. They don't feel it. It's fine. And like I said, this is his latrine. So he's smelling it because I may have meddled with it the previous day because I wanted to see what was in it. So he didn't really appreciate that. So now usually if I meddle with some scat, I usually take it home because I know he's not impressed at all. So these are the wetland cats. Anybody who has been following the project may know of this guy. I'll play the video before telling you where he is. This cat was filmed for 3 months, and this was actually in Timbirigasyaya. Everyone knows the petrol shed at the Timbirigasyaya junction where the Amrits is and the police station. So that petrol shed was where the EFL office was. So the landlord of that building, he built a pond and he filled it with goldfish. Goldfish went missing for in early Jan, but it's a goldfish. Nobody cares about the goldfish. And then he graduated from goldfish to butterfly koi. Butterfly koi is about 10K a fish. So those fish started going missing in May. He thought someone was jumping the wall to steal his beloved butterfly koi. So he set up the security cameras. And the next day I get a photograph with this guy's selfie. And then we started filming. And this is the first night. So he took, I think, 3 fish. That's 30,000 rupee dinner. It was a very expensive cat. Yeah, that's 10,000 rupees. Luckily for me, the landlord really liked cats, so he didn't mind. That was good for me. So what this guy would do, and I named him Mizuchi. Mizuchi is Japanese for a water dragon spirit. So I thought that was cool because butterfly koi are also called dragon koi, and this cat is associated with water and so much symbology. So Mizuchi. So what Mizuchi would do is he'd jump on the roof, go to the very end, and he'd eat his fish, and he'd come back down, go to the pond, catch another fish, go back up. He'd do this about 7 times. So now I really wanted to catch this cat. So what I did was I had to wait for wildlife permits, which took a couple of weeks. So to keep the cat coming, because now the landlord took his butterfly koi, he didn't want to lose any more money, I had to start stocking this pond. So I'd buy a really cheap cup, the 100 rupee cup. Any animal activists here, I'm really sorry, but this is for science. So I'd stock this pond, and my permits got a little late, so I stocked it for about a month. So every week I'd fill it every day with 10 pairs. Every day, 10 pairs of fish. So I was very broke at the end of 1 month. So after a while I was like, okay, this whole koi business isn't working, so let's switch it to like a batta and a tilapia. Battas and tilapias, if anyone has tried to catch these fish, they're very fast. Very fast, and they just won't stay in one place. Mizuchi is very lazy. He's used to his koi or his carp. So I have one video, I couldn't put it in here, but I have him coming in and he sits and now he's watching these tilapia, and you can see the tilapia just zooming around the pond. It's like making little waves in the water. He tries catching one and then he's like, no, this isn't working. And then he leaves. The next night he comes and he's like, no, sorry. So I was like, oh no, he's gonna leave. So then I took the battas and tilapias out, I put carp back in, and he was a very happy cat. That night he sat in the pond and he just like caught the fish one by one, because I have found that 100 rupee carp are a lot like chickens. They're very stupid. They don't know what's happening. They're very easy to catch. So that's how Mizuchi was kept happy. And then finally he was caught. He's not happy, but I was happy, so yay. And I always tell people, I don't want to ever be in between a fishing cat and its exit. Because, no, you don't want to. So what happened here was, after taking this picture, I was standing, I think I was about a foot away from the cage, and I could like feel something kind of tugging at my jeans, and then I looked down to see he had stuck his little stubby arm out and he was trying to hook my ankles. So yeah, they're interesting. I've never come across a rusty that's done that or jungle cat that's done that. So with the help of the wildlife department vets, we collared him. Again, the collar looks a little bulky, but it's not. It's less than 3% of his body weight. He was a 10-kilo cat. I'm really bad at math, so I'm not even going to try. But it was a very light collar. It was, the way I say it is, anyone who buys a new bag, or like, you know, you wear a new bracelet or you put on a new watch, you can kind of feel that weight, you know, that you're carrying. But at the end of the day, it's a very negligible weight. You don't even feel it because you're used to it. So that's what happens with these cats. His paws are blue, not because he's hypothermic or anything. I took paw prints. So after collaring and during the collaring, we have to look our cats over. So we take the weight, we look for parasites. So you can see, this isn't Mizuchi here, this is another cat. This is the cat smelling the scat. So he's got ticks on his ears. Then we check the teeth. The teeth are very important to look at because we can kind of get an understanding, a very general understanding on how old this cat is. So I've had one cat who we assumed was over 5 because his teeth were in really bad shape. He had teeth missing, the teeth were chipped, they were yellow. Mizuchi's teeth were nice and white, and and because his testes hadn't descended properly, we put him in the range of 1 to 1.5. This guy is also quite a young cat. He had very nice teeth, nice and sharp, nice and clean, no issues. And then we look for spot patterns. So no two people can see the same spot pattern. What I see is something you won't see. So, but this guy's spot pattern is quite noticeable. Does anyone know what it is? It's really cool. It's on his shoulder, if that's a hint. No? It's the little heart on top of his shoulder. So that's how we identified him. And he was easy because he had that little heart. Yeah, so that's him. And then you can also see the ventral lines going down the back really nicely in this photograph. So now I'm just going to give you an example of these cats, the range, their movement, just to get an understanding. So the first guy is Mizuchi. He was photographed at 12 in the afternoon down Skelton Road. We didn't know he was on that roof until we left, and then the owner said that the owner of the house called and said there was a fishing cat on the roof, so we rushed back and we found him just sitting there. He had been watching us for about 20 minutes. And of course I was really excited, so the pitch in my voice kind of started to get higher and higher, and that's when he got a little annoyed and gave me the dirty look and walked off. Well, that was cool. The next one is a translocated cat. So before I get onto him, Mizuchi is the resident. So his resident relocation. He was put back in the same place he was caught. Vadua, on the other hand, as his name suggests, was found in Vadua. He was a problem cat. Caught in a chicken coop. The people in that area didn't want him back because they said, he's eating and killing their chickens. They wanted the cat out. So we translocated him. Small problem with translocating cats, and that's why I put a collar on him, is that studies in Chile and North America, Chile where the mountain lions were collared, and North America where the Canada lynx was collared, is that when they translocate these cats, they all make a beeline back home. We wanted to see if our fishing cats were doing the same thing, because if we understood how a translocated animal behaves, it will be easier to move a cat from one place to the other, especially cats that do come into conflict with people. And most of the time people, I guess it's a lack of awareness, where because cats are territorial animals, if you do remove one from its territory, another one is 100% going to fill in that spot. So you can remove that cat, but another one's gonna move in, and no one can guarantee whether that cat will be any better or worse than the one removed. So that's another thing that we try and tell people. Translocations usually are very tricky. So now Mizuchi, red. This is his, I haven't put all my GPS points, but I just wanted to give you all an understanding. So this is, where's my pointer? Okay. So this is where we released him. That's the EFL office, and the petroshed is here. And over the course of 5 months, he did this circuit every day. And this is actually Savoy. And they were showing the Monkey Kingdom, so we all thought that he went to watch that, but we weren't sure. So Savoy, then he went to Havelock City, and then this is where we photographed him. But basically, all these points, when I did my habitat survey, I found that all these houses or these lots were either abandoned, apart from Savoy, were either abandoned, and so the area was overgrown, nobody was visiting these places, or it had a huge pond outside, like a massive pond. So the roof that I photographed him on had a huge pond up in the garden, and it was full of grey gourami. Everyone knows how big grey gourami get. The owner of that house actually said that he lost 2 grey gourami because of Mizuchi. And luckily for me, I managed to convince him not to do anything. So that was good. But the fish were moved. So yeah, very dependent on water, like I mean, because there are cats that, I lost my train of thought, sorry. They need water and a habitat and a nice overgrown habitat. So those are the places, I mean, when we visited the GPS locations, that's what we found, either outdoor pond or an overgrown garden or an abandoned lot. So this is what a resident's home range movement looks like. So it was just that for 5 months. And he also went to Fab. Yeah, which was interesting. Okay, so in comparison, this is Vadua. Like I said, Vadua was a translocated animal. He was released here. That's my study site. The study site is going to be open at the end of the year, so you should all go check it out. It's a nice wetland area. So he was released here. He spent 3 days there, but then he came in contact with the 3 resident fishing cats, and he was quickly displaced. He never stayed in the same place for more than 24 hours, apart from the study site, because he was just getting his bearings. But he never stayed in any of these places for more than 24 hours. He was continuously on the move. He never entered a wetland. And then I don't know whether he was trying to get a bus home, because he went to the Udahamulla bus station a couple of times. He went to Nugegoda, Maharagama, Gangoda. He went back to the wildlife department. He got really lost. And so it's very spotty. It's a huge range. So 5 months was just every day in a different place, which was really sad, because you see Mizuchi, who's like really knows where he is and he's very comfortable in his area. And then you've got Vadu, who's probably like scared and just wanted to go home. Unfortunately for this cat, he was hit by a car on the southern highway. He was crossing, and he was just towards Gaul. He was just past the Aturugiriya and Homagama exit. So he had moved quite a bit, and unfortunately he got hit. The road, the RDA, the cleanup crew, they were like, they didn't even keep the body for me, because they were like, you did not want to see it, because it was so bad. So that was really sad. By collaring more translocated animals, I'll be able to get a better understanding how to release them, how to reintroduce them into a new area if they have to be reintroduced into a new area. Maybe they need a longer soft release. Maybe they need to be released in a habitat that has no other fishing cats or very few fishing cats. So we can understand all those things by collaring more translocated cats and understanding their behavior. Then with resident cats like Mizuchi, we can understand how they are using their environment, because Colombo is a city and it's continuous, it's evolving and growing every day. So we need to know how to work with the wildlife rather than just shove them all out. Singapore is an example I really like to use, because they're tearing down buildings to be able to set up parks and grow trees. There are trees growing from skyscrapers, so it's kind of amazing. So we already have our wetlands in our city. So what I'm trying to encourage people to do is, instead of clearing it all, let's do some green, eco-friendly development, because that way the cats and all of us can kind of live cohesively. Because nobody really knows that the cats are around. So in Mizuchi's case, until he was caught, nobody knew he was there. And the moment people saw him, they were like, oh my God, my children are in danger. And I was like, look, this cat has been walking in this area for a couple of months, and he had to come from somewhere. Because something I didn't mention was Mizuchi wasn't the only cat. So he comes down the wall, but another cat walks along the wall and goes off screen. So there are 2 cats. It could be mother and son, or it could be 2 siblings. But obviously, if there are 2 cats, there has to be a mother and a father in the area. So you've got fishing cats in the city. You just need to look. And the nice thing about having a fishing cat living in your roof is that they eat your polecats. And everyone knows how wonderful a polecat is when it starts to pee. And it falls on your bed, and it's horrible, and it smells, and yeah. So they are really good natural pest control in that way. Not that a polecat's a pest, but you know, when they start to pee, they are. So yeah, so what needs to be done with the 3 cats? The first is there needs to be a lot of research done. I mean, I know they're like really small and everyone goes gaga when they see a leopard or a lion. I mean, I do as well when I see them, but I mean, you've got the little ones. Just because they're little doesn't mean that they're any less important. And we've got 34 for crying out loud. That's a lot. That's a lot of small cats. And an issue a lot of us find, and it's like a daily battle for me as well, is the lack of funding. And this is why. So between 2007 and 2013, 99.03% of all funding given to cats went to your 7 big cats. Yay. And the 33 small cats, I'm not including the domestic cat, had to fight over 0.97%. That's not enough for 34 species, and these 34 species have subspecies as well. So it's quite a daily battle for all of us. So just to let you kind of absorb that visually, 99.03% to them, and I'm really bad at math, but you know, goes to that. So that's how the funding is divided. And I've actually had emails from funders saying, we're really sorry, but we can't give you funding because your species is just not important enough. So that's a blow, and it's really, it really sucks, to put it lightly. So apart from the research, there needs to be a lot of awareness. I've spoken to a lot of people. Sometimes they don't know what either of the 3 small cats are. Like I said, when I started collaring my cats in Colombo, I actually had people say, oh my God, she's strapping suicide collars around leopards and releasing them in Colombo. That was something someone actually told me. And I was actually asked to catch my cat and remove the collar because people were getting scared. And then this was during Chogam, so they thought that I was sending cats to kill the Chogam delegates. And I was like, I'm not, oh my God. So people don't even know that that they've got these cats living in their backyard, which I guess is a good thing also, because that way the cats are left alone. But I mean, people who do have, like in my study site, there's a house just opposite the wetland, and they sit in the evenings and they watch this fishing cat every evening walking past the island opposite their house. So I mean, that's amazing to spend your evenings watching these gorgeous animals just, you know, going about their business. So there needs to be a lot of awareness. And then, of course, citizen science, which is a relatively new thing happening with us conservationists. We're kind of moving out of the hard science for conservation, because who here has read a journal article? Yeah? Okay. I mean, I read journal articles and I need a break because sometimes it's just gibberish. It makes sense, but it's just so technical. And journal articles kind of preach to the choir. So there's no point me preaching to my fellow scientists saying, look, we need to protect these species. I need to speak to people like you, the general public, because it's you guys who will make the difference. So if I go and preach a journal article to you, it's just going to go over your heads. So we've started this citizen science stuff thing, which basically involves you in our work. So for example, a good example is Snapshot Serengeti. If anyone's really bored at office, this is a super thing to do. This website, there's a huge conservation project in South Africa. I'm not sure which national park, but they've got hundreds of camera traps. So they ask the general public to help them sort their camera traps. So if I was trying to get out of doing some work at office, I would get onto this website and I'd sort their camera traps for them. So that's really cool. So that's one example of citizen science. So what we are asking you is, if anyone of you ever come across a fishing cat, see a roadkill, or jungle cat, or rusty, just let us know so that we can add these records to our data maps. This helps us get distribution. This will help us understand how many cats are being killed by road accidents. It helps us a lot, especially for these 3 species which have very little scientific information on. So what we need is basically location, date, time, species. So yes, so that's it. Thank you for listening to my talk. And if you want to learn more about the ongoing projects, you all can check these 2 websites or email us on either of these email addresses. Thank you.
If you come across a fishing cat,
Yeah.
small cat,
Yeah.
are they known to attack you?
What I tell people is, okay, for example, if you're walking on the road and if you see me, from a distance, we smile, we say hi, fine. If I come up to you and I start poking you, and I'm like poking your forehead, I'm like, hello, 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 can I ruffle your hair, can I like kick you, can I, you're probably going to hit me. I know I would. So it's the same thing with a wild animal, any wild animal. Even with a dog will usually growl and say, leave me alone. If you keep annoying it, it's going to bite you. So the same thing with any wild animal out there. You look at them from a distance, you respect them, and they'll be fine. So it's like Mizuchi on the roof. He was 10 feet above me, and I was standing just 3 feet away. He was fine. If I went to try and catch him or I invaded his personal space, then he would have warned me. If I ignored those warnings, then he would have probably bitten me. So you respect the animal, you watch them from a distance, they're all good. But apart from that, they're not going to actively come and like see you and like, oh my god, meat, and come running behind you. They're not going to do that. Anyone else?
Do they react to the presence of domestic cats?
Do they react?
They fight each other?
Yes. So they'll even fight amongst themselves. So if you've got 2 rusties who don't know each other and they come in contact with each other, especially 2 males, they will fight. We've got lots of fishing cats who kind of eat domestic cats and dogs, and so do the jungle cats. Rusty, not really, because they're like really small. But yeah, you do. I mean, I've spoken to people who have said that that the fishing cat actually came into their house and took the cat that was sleeping on the chair. So they're very bold, but nobody was really paying attention until they heard the cat yowl, and so they saw it being dragged out. So yeah, they will, but they need to eat too.
Can I ask the origins of these fishing cats or these small cats? Are they did they sort of migrate in terms of its origin from a domestic cat, or was it the other way around?
It's the other way around. The domestic cat origined from the jungle, from the wild cat. So Felis silvestris. Yes, I got a scientific name right. So the wild cats are the domestic cat's ancestors. It's not the other way around. And they're all different genus. So you've got the domestic cat with the jungle cat. It's the same genus Felis, whereas the fishing cat and the rusty are in the other one. Sorry. And then you've got the leopards in Panthera, and you've got the 8 genus.
Weren't these cats, these small cats, very popular in the during the period of the Greek sort of Greek state, where they used to rear these cats as pets?
Yes.
So because you can see the pictures, the older pictures, you have these cats as a pet.
They did, and again, that is the wild cat. The Egyptians had jungle cats, and then even, I mean, I've read stories where during the British, when the British were here, they'd take jungle cats and rusties. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're domesticated. I've had the pleasure of hand rearing a Rusty, and she was an orphan, and she would not let anyone handle her except for me. So, and even with me, I could only handle her when she wanted me to handle her, and I have gotten bitten and scratched by her lots of times. So then they are not easy to domesticate. Right now we've got the Bengal cat. Have any of you heard the Bengal cat? Not the leopard cat. This is a domestic hybrid. So it's a hybridized domestic cat with a leopard cat. It's a gorgeous cat. But what people are realizing is because it's still an F4 category, they're relatively new, so they're extremely wild. As kittens, all kittens are really cute. They're easy to play with. They don't, they scratch, it doesn't hurt. But the moment they reach maturity and they reach sexual maturity, that's when it starts to get very difficult to handle. So lots of these Bengal cats are being given to wildlife sanctuaries in, I think, England and the States. They're being returned because they just can't, the people who bought them just can't handle them anymore because they've still got their wild traits. It took like centuries for the domestic cat to become the domestic cat. And even then, they're very aloof. I mean, my mom has 2 cats and I know how aloof they are. But you can't really interact with them as well as you would a dog because a dog has had much longer to adapt to people. So it's like that. So you can't really domesticate any of these wild cats within 1 or even 4 generations.
Important question.
Yeah.
I would ask something about the poop.
Okay.
Now the cats
Yeah.
usually cover the poop by
The-
nature.
Yeah.
Cats usually, because I have been having a lot of cats and I know how they behave.
Yeah.
Usually they cover. The reason is I think there is some protozoan, some thing which is harmful for the animals. Even humans can get
Toxoplasmosis.
Yeah, toxoplasmosis. So, but now in your pictures, I didn't see them being covered.
The reason domestic cats cover their poop is because, how should I say it? They're a smaller cat. So usually smaller animals tend to cover their poop. So even Rusties would cover their poop because they're a larger predators. And poop is a really good way for another animal to know about the animal that pooped. It's like a dog, how they smell each other's bums when they meet. The cats don't cover because the fishing cat's the larger species in the area. So he's like, this is my place. All you who come across it know it's mine. So it's also like a marker for them. Now fishing cats in areas where there are larger predators, they would poop in water. So then the poop completely disintegrates. So you can't find it. Then female fishing cats with young kittens will also defecate in water because she also doesn't want any other fishing cat or any other predator in the area to know that she has kittens, because if she's lactating or if she's pregnant, all these pheromones are in the poop. So to protect her young and to protect herself, she will poop in water. But a male like that guy, he just wants people to know he's there. And he's like, this is my territory, my toilet, don't use it, that kind of thing.